And to do so, I request our moderator, Mr. Arun Subramanian, co-founder Growiz.ai, to please come upon the stage. Please give him a big round of applause, everyone. While everyone keep applauding, I would call upon our panelist, Ms. Sirisha Kommireddi, Associate Vice President and Global Head Talent Development, Cigniti Technologies, to also come upon the stage. I also request Mr. Gijo Mathew, Head Learning and Development, Auro Infra Private Limited, to please come upon. And also Ms. Shaifally Grover, DVP and Regional Head, Human Resource, HDFC Bank. Ms. Vaishali Shahi, Director Human Resource, Park Hyatt. I also request Mr. Tarun Kumar, Head HR Shared Services, Tech Mahindra. I request Ms. Malini Chatterjee, Head of HR, VICAT India. I also request Mr. Shekhar Bhandari, Head Human Resource Development, Hyundai Motor India Engineering, to please all of you to come up on the stage. I request our moderator and our panelists to please come up on the stage and occupy your seats.
Okay, I think this is more to get your attention and less to check the audio, but folks on this side. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think we'll just wait for like another 30 seconds for the logistics to be in. So in the meantime, to I think help all of us, we've ensured that we've sat in the same order as, the names are put up there. So next time, somebody is responding to something, who's responding, whose views they are, so that, in case you want to. That will also kind of show us when these photos were taken. I guess some of them are taken from LinkedIn. So yeah, good that my LinkedIn photo is not there. I think mine is like quite a few years old. I didn't have beard and stuff, so things would have looked very different. So can we all just take our mics and check if our mics are working, and maybe we can just hold the mics in our hands as well. Check, check, check.
Check.
And the idea is to kind of share that experience and talk about how things have transpired in real life. And I'm going to kind of push some of you to give, examples and cases of how you have seen some of these things going, so that, in addition to your views, people will also be able to understand why you formed some of those views and see if there are parallels that, the rest of us can take in our respective organizations. So maybe we'll. And the way we would go about this is, I think I'm going to have, I have a few pointers in terms of where the discussion should move. And the request to all the panelists would be that, you have a timer running in there. So if we can restrict our response to about 2 to 3 minutes, and then we can just open the discussion for the rest of the panelists to add some more points if they can. And yeah, so maybe I'll just start off with a very, very broad question. This is to Shaifally. So how do you see organizations effectively implement AI-driven L&D platforms, specifically to provide personalized learning experience across different roles and different levels?
Hi, good evening, everyone. And thank you, Gains Skills, for having me here. So my perspective on this, how can organizations effectively implement the AI solutions and L&D solution is, firstly, I think it's the game changer, the kind of platform that you're using. The first and foremost important step is that to understand what are the ultimate learning objectives. So is it the customized, personalized learning solutions that we are looking for, or real-time feedback, or for that matter, we are looking for, a coaching solution. So firstly, understanding that particular objective and then aligning it with the overall L&D strategy is something which we need to look at. Again, all the AI solutions highly rely upon the data. So it's very important that the training data that we have is accurate, which means at any point in time, for all the employees that we have, the real data in terms of what their roles are, what their bands are, is very important, which also means if, let's say, some new joinees are entering into the organization, their data is also, the data inflow is accurate. Again, what would I say is the security of this data and having the proper security protocols to have the sensitive learners' information is something which needs to be looked at. Having looked at these 2 points, then one can choose an AI solution which is best suitable for the organizational learning needs and the data availability. And then again, it would be basis what ultimate aim for the organization is. Next comes the pilot. So rather than doing large-scale execution of the AI platform, it's important to do it in a pilot way for a particular cohort, understand what the learner's experience had been. Also, at the same time, understand what is the outcome which is giving. Is it giving the right outcome or not? And if not, the AI algorithms can again be retuned to have a successful rollout plan. Then one can go live. Having said that, it is very important to provide the support, right set of support and training to all the learning teams so that their capabilities and knowledge can be enhanced, and then they can be streamlined and they are aware about all the latest AI solutions which are available in the market. So I think these 3-4 steps can really help in successful implementation of the AI platform, and that can be a game changer for the organization.
And is there something specific to banks that you've seen work or not work in your context?
It has actually worked really well for us, and we have had a good user experience as well. So last year was when we implemented it, so it's been really doing well for us.
So maybe I'll just leave it open if anybody else wants to add something to what Shaifally had talked about in terms of implementing some of these AI-based solutions back in your organization.
I think the very concept of digitalization or bringing AI tools at the work, it actually promotes the efficiency and productivity, and I think that's what it summarizes to. So for even in hospitality, I feel, be it any tool for training or learning and development, I think it just helps us, to make jobs easier.
Yeah, and I think more, and I think I'm going to add that it's more repeatable and consistent as well in your case.
Right.
I think that's what your customers
There are a lot of
expect.
jobs which are absolutely repetitive, and at times it does get mundane for people to do it. But when we bring in more digitalization, when we bring more technology at work, it makes us easier for people, for the teams to collaborate and innovate also.
Sure. So maybe I'll just move, to the next part where maybe I'll give it to Tarun. So Tarun, what strategies have you seen are the most effective in terms of scaling this up? Because one is to kind of do it at a small scale, do a pilot. But what have you seen work for you in terms of scaling up some of these initiatives, specifically using AI and dealing, especially when you're dealing with diverse teams and diverse skill levels? Because one bill may not fit everybody there.
Absolutely. So all of us would have heard the phrase beaten to death, people process technology. Correct? How many people have heard of this? So every other person talks about people process technology. And when we talk about the people, the speaker before us was talking about, in today's generation, everybody is looking for what's in it for me. Vis-a-vis being directed to do something without question. Today, everybody, that is the first thing which comes, what's in it for me? And the answer to what's in it for me could be different for me, could be different for Shaifally, could be different for everybody else. So coming back to people, process, and technology. When we talk about AI as a technology at any point in time, whether today it is AI, tomorrow it's going to be something else, day after it's going to be something else, technology can do only so much. When we are talking about scale, when we are talking about handling it in a diverse teams or diverse skills, First of all, that ecosystem for which we are targeting these initiatives, that ecosystem should embrace it first, that yes, this is what we need to do. Because if they don't embrace with the idea in terms of what needs to be achieved, we may do whatever from the technology front, the results are going to be nil. So rather than an AI problem or a L&D problem, I see it more as a problem on the business side in terms of building the right level of alignment and right level of mind share first in terms of what needs to be achieved. Once that understanding is there and that buy-in is there in the target ecosystem, after that it becomes very easy in terms of the matter of deploying the right kind of technology to achieve the desired results. And whatever we will do as a humans in a L&D, and it is going to take a lot of effort, it's going to take a lot of people to do that, that is where AI comes into play in terms of making those jobs much easier, much more efficient in terms of the real-time feedback. So if I am training 1,000 people, it is humanly impossible to give a feedback to everybody. But if I have an AI tool available, through the AI tool, I can have a personalized experience for all 1,000 of them. And each of them can get a feedback which is very, very personal to that person. So that is where the technology can come in and play the role and help scale up across diverse teams, across diverse skills. For example, you deploy an AI solution and you are doing it in India, and you have a team in China as well. But in China, you are trying to train that team using English language. It will work, but it will not work as well. However, if your solution delivers that program in the Chinese language, the acceptability and the speed at which you are able to adapt is going to be much more, which AI will be enabled to, will enable you to do it. Doing it manually is going to be a nightmare. So that's how I look at it, look at the ecosystem, build a mind share, then deploy the technology solution, keeping in view the skills and the locations of the teams.
So I'm taking that you're saying technology is a layer, but the mindset has to be there, and the will to want to do something has to be there. And
that is, I would say, is a ticket to entry. If that is not there, you can put the best in class technology, the result is going to be nil.
That makes sense. Yeah. Anybody else who wants to add something?
Yeah, I would just like to add sponsorship from the top management. When you're actually implementing these kind of initiatives in the organization, if you do not have sponsorship, whatever you do, it might fail. Because the budgets come from there. AI is something that all of us are talking today, but how many companies are ready to embrace AI? Do we have enough budgets to do it? No, not necessarily, right? So that is the reason I say sponsorship is a big thing for me.
Sure. And I think just to add, our experience has also been that it's not just about sponsoring it once, but it's also about sponsoring it over a period of time and allowing for failures to happen, because a lot of time, especially with new stuff coming in, there's a good, it's a 50-50. It may work for you, it may not work for you. Maybe we don't know what work, how to make it work for us, etc. So I think that's something that we've seen in a lot of companies who've implemented tech right through. So
I usually call it funding beyond ribbon cutting.
You're lucky, Tarun. It works for you.
Yeah. So maybe I'll throw the next question to Malini. So Malini, in what ways do you see conversational role plays or simulations enhance, the whole engagement and knowledge retention across people at different levels in your organization?
Yeah, thank you, and good evening to all. I come from a cement background. I'm heading the two integrated cement plants. So we have a cadre that work for us is called the local land losers. So the role plays, the simulative role plays has helped us a great deal to align them and institutionalize them to our workforce. They used to think that coming, punching in and punching out is all they have to do, and they can change their shifts whenever they can. And we have rolled out a program called Pragati, which we have the simulative role plays where there is a facilitator and a scenario is enacted. And that place of time, the facilitator gives them the feedback, what is correct, what needs to be done. So hence this experiential learning has helped us a lot it creates engagement between the role players. There is high level of retention of whatever knowledge that has been shared. And there is a feedback mechanism that works instantly, wherein they know what is correct, what needs to be corrected, and what is good enough to go.
And may I just request you to just dwell a little deeper on what the problem is, just for all of our
The
understanding?
problem was repetitive absenteeism. Then people were not engaged to what they are working on. And we have in this category of employees from grade 1 to grade 10. And being a multinational company, we had certain goals which are top-down. It's forced upon us. We need to align to the goals, and organization needs to meet those goals. And without the commitment of the local employees, it was impossible. And this type of learning initiative has really helped us. And I have my learning leader with me out there in the audience, Ms. Sangeeta. And she will definitely, she is our instructor and facilitator for this type of training program. And we have our plant HR managers also, and they will also give a big tick mark. There is a significant change in the employees, the local employees cadre.
Makes a lot of difference. So, but that takes me to the next part of, this whole thing about bringing in structuring some of these programs and using AI is, what are we going to do about biases? Because inherently, I think all of us, when we talk about AI, we've seen, biases. I think all of us must have come across Google fiasco where, Google's AI generated images which, were too biased on one side, then they corrected and it became overcorrected, they said. So that became an issue, and it was like a, bad PR for Google. They pulled the product back, etc. But maybe Sirisha, I want to understand from you. So how do you look at AI-powered solutions working specifically in the DI space? Because there is a AI bias in terms of what it knows. On top of it, we're already trying to overcome human bias in terms of what what people already have assumptions on each other. So how do you see this going forward?
So basically, as a learning leader, I go back to the drawing board. I'll start from there. Tarun had also spoken about it. Anand had clearly talked about it. I think the first and foremost thing is, are we in the race to implement AI in the organization? Do we really see a specific need of implementing AI in the organization is something as a learning leader I need to understand. The reason I'm saying that is, for an organization which just has 100 people, maybe you don't really need it. But for an organization at my scale, maybe 4,500 kind of people, you cannot run everything all by manual intervention, right? So that is the first thing that you need to establish, whether you need an AI, powered intervention or not. That's number one. Number two, I think for organizations where we are moving today is the personalized learning plans. And when I say personalized learning plans, most of them have spoken about it today. It's hyper-personalized today. We are talking about each and every individual and the combination of the skill sets. Again, you can't put them into parallel tracks. What I would need here today is different from what Shaifally needs, right? So this kind of roles that are dynamic in nature, they're changing day by day. So it's very hard for us with the manual intervention, while we do have fantastic team of learning people here who are present with me today, it's very hard for them with a bunch of people to track it and run it. So AI is definitely going to help us there, where it is going to pick up how the learning paths can be laid, plus also track it as we go forward. Halfway through, the person is disengaged completely due to ABCD reasons. How would we track that? So those areas are going to be spotted by AI, and that is going to help us go a long way. Similarly, we are also working with people from different geographies, whether it's a global company or an MNC, a small segment, whatever it is. We are working with people from different demographics. We are working with people with different sexual orientation today, gender, et cetera, et cetera. When that is happening, how do you know the preference of that individual? Because not everything can be picked up during onboarding, right? You can't ask them such questions. There are some questions you can ask, there are some you cannot. So based on the track record of the individual or the preferences that they're picking during the learning interventions, you get to understand this. So AI definitely helps in that area. Similarly, we do have people with special needs in the organization. Again, when I say special needs, some of them really need something like a screen reader compatibility, someone who needs a bigger font size, someone who needs something to do with, probably AI sensor kind of a thing. So these are the things that can be addressed with AI. And DEIB, again, that's very close to my heart. Belonging is a major, major piece. And thanks, Sat Kumar, I think you covered it pretty well. That is something most organizations do miss. And belonging for me is the top in the list.
So anything else that anyone else wants to add on the whole? Okay. So I think then I'll kind of take this to the next part, which is in terms of, let's say you start an initiative, you get all this, but and maybe I'll have Gijo take this. So what are the challenges you face in integrating some of this as part of your learning initiatives? Because one is to, like what Shaifally said, start off piloted, but what are the challenges in integration?
So Arun, thank you. Thank you, Gain Skills and the event organizers for having this wonderful event. First and foremost, can't hear? Louder? Better? Thank you, Shiva. So what is one skill, I would like to ask the audience, what is one skill which every L&D professional would have?
Smarts.
One skill he or she will not miss is problem solving skills. Agree or disagree? Okay, so an L&D professional will know the problem but will never share the solution. Right? So, Sarah and Anand, I liked your session very much, and I'm taking the baton from Anand and like to answer this question in a very fantastic manner. Few data, a story, and the challenges. Data. 93% of the people would like the trainings to be completed as soon as possible. Agree, disagree? 91% of the people want personalized training. So, Anand, thank you. 90% of the people want trainings to be engaging. Right? 93, 91, and 90. Data speaks. It's from HR Drive. Now, let me put a case study to you to answer the question. How many of you know where was the World Cup football held? Qatar. Wonderful. Olympics held? Held. Not where it is going to happen. Held. Tokyo. Someone says Tokyo. How many of you know in Tokyo airport they installed robos to help the passengers to be facilitated? One thing which was missing in the robos was affection, emotions. And let me put it this way, AI is just a tool. It's a tool to help us get the solutions. Don't get carried away with AI as a complete solution finder. The solution finder person is you, yourself. The moment you accept AI as a tool and start working to get the solutions, you try to get a good training program. Certain things missing from the AI part, to answer your question, is that critical thinking. Now, to answer your question, let me give you a case study also. There were 3 people identified for a promotional role, right? And they were given some skills which they had to cover in the last 6 months, some skill sets, and they were assessed. One had a mentor, one didn't have a mentor. Now, who would be picked? Who would be picked? The one with the mentor, right? So the mentor is actually giving the person or telling the person that when you have these solutions, bring in emotions, bring in that critical thinking, bring in those answers which will have human touch. So where we need to identify AI and use them appropriately is take them as a tool and a technique to find solutions. Bring in those training programs wherein AI will give you the skill set. Bring in humans wherein their intervention is required. Skill those people who are in your organization so that they can get appropriate feedback. Sometimes feedbacks will really help to enable a person grow. He may fail, let it happen, but that should be a stepping stone towards success. So Arun, if a person wants to inculcate AI, fantastic, but let's not forget the human touch, the critical thinking, the problem-solving approach, and how we can make it more humorous.
No, that makes sense. And I think one of the other things that, I think we'll probably discuss this a little later is I think, and I think I've heard this in multiple other places, is everybody has their own way of learning. And I think that's something that a lot of us talk about. But the problem is that we don't have money to kind of provide the same learning to everybody in different ways. So is that something that AI can come and solve? Because like you said, when you said we know the problem but we can't give a solution, this problem came to my mind where the solution is more money, because then the question comes in saying, hey, same content, why should I do it in 10 different ways?
Right. So if you get a chance, please go and watch this document on Manchester City, how they win the treble. Okay. So this guy called Pep Guardiola, I'm very sure many of you would be following football, right? He's a very emotive guy. And he's got two people whom he actually trained. One is now leading Arsenal, and one is now leading Bayern Leverkusen. So what was he doing? He was just coaching. He was trying to bring in solutions. But all the time, did he have that AI thing? Yes. He has got decision-making capabilities to his backup team, which tells them exactly the solutions, the issues with the opposite team members, your opposition. At the same time, he has got emotions to get this team charged up when they meet their opponent next time. So yes, Arun, we need AI, we need these decision-making tools, but let's not forget the human touch.
So Vaishali, maybe I'll take this next point with you. So how do you see AI interventions contributing to creating a culture of continuous learning and upskilling?
So I think I would second what Gijo said, and we come from hospitality. Hospitality is an industry where it is about personal experiences, be it for the guest or be it for the colleagues. And we work, I think it's a very labor-intensive organization, and also the priority of an HR and a learning and development function remains to be bringing a balance between work and life, along with the development of the team members. So what happens when AI interventions, I would still call it as a very, very nascent stage in our industry, because majority of a population which works in the hotel are not very tech savvy, I would call it, because it's a skill-based job. A chef who's going to prepare a cake or a chef who's going to make a dal makhni is still way, way too far from AI. Maybe he's an Instagrammer, but he might not be a tech savvy in using the systems. But what I see, or I would love to see it in future, is we use AI to bring more productivity by simplifying the processes for the teams, by simplifying the training programs for our training and development teams, so that that they can do it at their pursuit in terms of whenever they are free. It cannot be mandated with them that they have to do it. Earlier, it used to be that during their 9 hours or 12-hour shift, they have to finish those training programs, which makes it a little easier now when we have worked with the regional teams and we have developed the programs, which is available for them 24/7. So that helps us with the help of integration of technology. That is one. Another way, what I look at is, it does give us very lot of insights. Now, our entire L&D dashboard works on a click of a button. It does gives me a lot of reports and insights to management team as to what the organization really needs to do in the hotel to be able to align again with the management business objectives. So I think AI implementation in hospitality setup is still in a very, very nascent stage, but I do see a lot of promising future for it, I would call that. But I would also want to present a different perspective. I was talking to one of my friend while he works in a Zepto. I'm sure everybody knows Zepto. He was telling me that, how they teach. So they've recently opened the cafes for them, And how they teach is that they don't really hire chef to make a samosa. They actually hire anybody, and they train them so well on an algorithm which will eventually give a right samosa. So that's how AI is helping us, but I still see a lot of hope and a lot of potential to grow in there. So that's how I feel.
Sure.
A different perspective, I think, but yeah, that's how we are.
No, I think that makes sense. And so maybe I'll take this next one to Shekhar. So how do you look at some of these AI initiatives supporting personalized career growth options? and career growth paths for people out there. So
Okay.
maybe I'll just add a small context to that because, see, there's always this, fear of what this is going to do for people on both sides of the aisle. So how do employees see this, and how do you kind of position it right for them or get it right for them? Maybe I'll kind of request you to respond from that perspective as well.
Thank you, Arun. My name again is Shekhar, probably the last one to speak here. I work with Hyundai. If you're looking for a car discount, plan to buy a Hyundai car, great brand, but I may not be able to get you a discount, okay? So, because we are with the engineering services, we help with the design and the development of the Hyundai cars, okay? But you never know. We'll talk afterward, right? If you're looking to buy a Hyundai car. But I'll come back to your question about. I think how we position it will matter. The communication will matter. That AI is not necessarily an enemy, right? In the sense that AI is. Essentially, AI is designed by humans for humans, right? It is designed to serve humanity and not the other way around. Right, so a proper communication of that, the employees, when they understand that this is a tool that is not going to take away my job, rather is going to accentuate, it's going to enhance, it's going to support, it's going to be conducive in an environment where we are trying to channel a continuous improvement system. I think that is the key. And I've been hearing some of the experts speak here as well, right? I believe that if your algorithms are carefully designed, right, in your database when you're talking about AI, I think that is also the trick. That is also the trick because that will help with your data because AI also can have its own bias. In the sense, if we have a limited data, there's going to be a bias that's going to come up. So I think if we channel that very well, Arun, that's half the battle sort of won. Change management, of course, is another topic. You got to position it well. You got to communicate well. You got to position it well. You got to ensure that your employees buy in and believe. And that's where I think some of our leaders also talking about belonging, right? I mean, we believe in this system, and this is how we want to move forward. So sharing that bit of vision, I think, is going to be great. Yeah. And of course, the human touch, right? I think it was Gijo who was mentioning. So a great balance of the human touch and the machine or the tool by itself is also going to do the trick. I mean, AI might give me the feedback, but if I'm looking at the bottom quartile, if you have a coach or a mentor come up and speak to them and then deliver, I think it's going to be great. Or even for a learning, if a debrief is done by a senior guy or a mentor, that has its own role. So I will not have to do much after that bit of communication. My program will speak for itself in the sense, right? So I hope that answers.
But how do you specifically position it for, let's say, career path opportunities in case you've seen something work or in case you have something on the pipeline?
Yeah, so look, we've developed recently a leadership development program. I've been joined here by Ravi. Ravi is right there. He does most of the work. But this is what happens, right? When we are doing that, we are looking at, we've recently also been joined by LinkedIn Learning, and we're looking at various algorithms. And see, the industry is a little different, right? So the kind of courses that we are gunning are very different. So we look at that. We look at who are these top performers. We take their data aside, and we will tell specifically what we are looking at. Now, why this is unique, Arun, is because we've got electrical, we've got computer, we've got software, we've got every one of them. So what kind of courses are being aligned to those, and we pick up that, and in accordance we will move forward. So it will be very different in that sense. So that is something that we've been working on with LinkedIn Learning. We have a tool of our own as well. One of the key things with LinkedIn that worked for us was when we said that we want to partner with you in a way that your tool and our tool have to integrate. They have to talk to each other. And yeah, the results are good. It's still a work in progress though, but I think we are getting good results. Yeah.
Sure.
So just to add to the personalized learning solutions, so many of these AI, enabled L&D platforms do provide an option to the employees in terms of what are their learning preferences, what are the skill set or the competencies that they want to build on, whether they are on the leadership, functional or behavioral. So they can again, choose where they want to. There are mobile apps which can be used whatever time you're traveling, whatever time suits you, you can do it as per your requirement. Also, the organizations, large organizations like ours, so we have internal job watch, right? So there would be employees, or just leave job watch aside. Maybe I'm working in retail branch banking, and now I want to move to retail assets, and I want to build my functional competency. So all the modules which are available on the platform, the employee can choose basis their requirement. And again, when, let's say, the best person is to be picked up, the leader can also see as to what are the learning or learning courses or developments that they have done. So which is, again, personalized. I'm not bounded by, the vertical elevation for a particular function. But yes, cross-functional movements also result in a lot of enrichment. And that is what I have experienced personally. So I think these AI tools would not, again, will give a wider horizon in terms of learning paths, wherever, whenever you want to learn, whatever you want to learn, and the knowledge will always take you places. So that is my perspective on that.
Fair enough.
Arun, also, sorry, just to, I'm not necessarily answering your question, but I'm also making a point about the, with basically the VR, and I heard VR earlier with the speaker as well, that you eliminate a lot of risk, especially in our industry when a car is being put together, you eliminate a lot of that risk as well. So AI plays a beautiful role there as well. Again, a little bit of work in progress, but we are expecting great results on that end as well, where mechanical engineers are there forefronting, but the risk is eliminated because they're not in the field of play, but they're in the training playground, right?
So with all this, maybe I'll just throw the next question open to all the panelists here. So what are some of the problems or things that you've heard about when people say, hey, oh, no, and what are the risk areas or problems that you've heard? Some of them may be real risk areas, some of them may be myths, but maybe if you can just share about things that you've heard out there and to the audience, and what your view is, that's a myth that can be solved. That will be. Yes, please.
All right, so data, this is something we all know. We are all bombarded with too much of data out there, but picking the right kind of information or inferences from the data is very important. Again, AI can give you data which is available up there, but then is that data realistic? Can you really action it? Is it possible? Does it work for your industry? Your cohort that you're working with is very important for me. I think while you do have the data up for grabs, it's very important for a L&D leader or maybe a HR leader to analyze the data, and application of the data becomes very important. So that's my take on it. So the challenge. Any challenges with the mic?
Yeah. I think the only thing I feel is awareness. When it comes to usage of anything, not only AI, but while we are talking about AI today, it's about awareness, how much people are aware. And again, I think we spoke about the intent in the morning, that how much we want to actually grow with AI. That would actually tell the future of it.
Just one quick thing is, there's data as well, right, that you've spoken. I would also position a little bit of privacy in that area as well, the privacy piece as well, right? I'll just add that to your point. Sirisha, yes.
Because I think from whatever we've heard, I think the AI part has become very popular now with, let's say, ChatGPTs, where AI is in the hands of people. And what a lot of people fail to recognize is this is just the large language models that have kind of become popular now. What a lot of our general population calls as AI today is the large language conversational models that have evolved recently. And but I think like what you were saying, I think a lot of these AI models have been used in, for example, in automobile, in banking, for example, a lot of your underwriting, is kind of done through AI, which means you apply for a loan online, you get it. A lot of AI-powered models which are powering this. There's a lot of data analytics that are done using AI. So I think now that, so the way I see it is that a lot of democratization happening with AI. Now people are coming forth with asks on, hey, what is happening with AI? How can I use it to this specific use case? What was, let's say, fairly niche at some point of time is now something that everybody wants to know about and everybody wants to contribute. So like I said, I think those concerns come in, and privacy is one major concern because Yeah, I think question is, what are you going to do with this data? How are you doing it? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have a small takeaway from this. Any AI platform, communication is the most important thing. Like today in our cement industry, there is a lot of integrated tools with AI where we do the maintenance, the preventive maintenance scheduling. So I feel if people know how AI is going to help them in the long run, rather than they become demotivated and sit back from it, communication is the tool and top-down approach is essential, the buying in of the senior leadership team. And then only AI is going to be successful. And I'm seeing it's going milestones in manufacturing sectors. It's done wonders.
As you touched upon and Sirisha touched upon, there's a lot of fad going around the artificial intelligence and specifically around the generative AI. And so people come and claim as if like this is going to solve everything and the world is going to be a different place. But the people who are talking about it, they don't realize that when we are talking about artificial intelligence or generative AI kind of a technology, the only way that can be successful is when there is a huge amount of data available. And when we start talking about the huge amount of data, the question comes on the data ownership and data privacy. So we were just interviewing somebody for a specific program which we run in our company for the leadership, and the person who was making the presentation, when we started doing a cross, then what he thought is going to be his data set for the artificial intelligence model or the generative AI model, at the end of about 10 minutes of conversation, that the candidate data set which was going to be available was less than 1% of what he thought the data is going to be. And now whatever was left of that 1%, then 1% was not worth it even to build that kind of a model to deliver that kind of a generative AI solution. So people just lose track. There are a lot of emotions, lots of PowerPoints, lot of sales talk, which happens when the question comes to rubber hitting the road. That is where you all of a sudden you find out that this is what you did not buy, or this is what you did not think about it. So we need to be very, very cautious.
Just a point, if you think that AI can solve everything, now you spoke about ChatGPT a while back. Now, how many of you have used ChatGPT to make a presentation? Yeah. So maybe 50% of the team here. How many of you used humanized.ai to humanize the content that you received on it? There you go. So there are few hands. People know that what ChatGPT is throwing up there is not ready for grabs. You still need to humanize it to present it out there to the public, right? So we are using AI, again, another AI to humanize it, right? So if we can actually do that in the first place, life becomes a better place.
So, you want to add something? Okay. So I think I'll quickly summarize what I took from this discussion so far. I think one of the, it started with saying, hey, AI is there, but even if you want to get this started, are we really having sponsors, and are we having sponsorship beyond the ribbon cutting part, which, I'm going to take that away. I like that. Because a lot of initiatives start when people assume that it's one time, and it's never one time, it has to be continuous. And then we spoke about how we are aligning all the stakeholders to get what we want. And I think what Shaifally spoke about specifically in terms of how we'll have to take it in smaller chunks, pilot it, test whether it works, and get it out. And I think we also had discussions around what the expectations really are, and what is the role of the technology, and what is the role of people who are running the technology, where I think there are certain things that we will have to kind of humanly do to get this context of what is happening. For example, I think we were talking about what's happening with people who are working, people who don't use the technology, but people who need to be sensitized. How are we doing this? Then we spoke about people across multiple geographies. What is the context? And one of the last things that I really liked is in terms of what is really, what are the pitfalls and what is the expectation really, and what should we be aware of, including privacy, including whose data it is, and what problem is it really solving? Because because I think, and something that I didn't hear it in as many words, is that this is like yet another way of technology that's going to come in, where I think starting from internet, where we said all jobs will go, everything will be replaced. I think this is yet another part of it where we are seeing, where people make tall claims about how it's going to solve everything, but I think I'm sure all of us will live another day to laugh about these claims and come back and do what it is. So with this, thanks a lot, panelists. Really appreciate all your inputs and time for this. So maybe what we'll do is to quickly throw open, the floor to the audience, and maybe because we're out of time, so I think I'm going to restrict it to 2 questions. So I'm leaving it open to the audience in case you have specific questions for the panelists. You can kind of, please put your hands up. We'll get a mic and we can have 2 questions. Yes, sir.
Thanks. My question was related to finding the right tool to find our solutions in learning. Now, while we think about buying a mobile phone, for instance, we have platforms online that actually compare different mobile phones, and we know exactly what is giving us, the best camera or the best, memory or whatever it is. But when it comes to solutions, like learning solutions that we look for, there's so many players in the market that we actually get bombarded as learning professionals. We get calls almost twice, thrice a day, asking us for 30 minutes. Give us 30 minutes. That's the most common thing. But it's very difficult to give that time to everyone, so we always want to actually explore that tool. Now, how can we actually compare these tools in the market that is there to find something which is, is there a kind of checklist that we have that we can actually, say that, okay, fine, this is a tick mark, and then, okay, this one's the best, because each one is different. There might be something in one, might not be something in the other. So if we have to find, and in fact, I was having this conversation before, someone told me that, go for the latest, that's always the best, because they have the latest technology in it. But what are your views, anyone?
So I would take that. Not necessarily latest is not always the greatest. I worked on a learning management system 20 years back. All right. So the learning management system that I'm using today is not even 50% of what that system had to offer. So definitely that is something which I would talk about. And when you're comparing, because we have recently invested in a learning management system, so for a different company, obviously. So when I do a comparative analysis, the first thing I ask the vendors or the third parties is that, can you give me a differentiator that you can bring to the table? So they'll give me a list of things. That is a comparison I look at, and then I pick the one which is custom designed to me. So 20 people approach you, 3 or 4 would cut to what you're looking at, and that's how you shortlist and bring them in for a conversation and then have a conversation. Another best bet is talk to your colleagues in the industry. I'm looking for a learning management system. What is your experience? Because usually the sales are done very well. After sales is a problem. Everything is a CR. How many of you heard about the CR? The change request? That is billable again. I mean, that's chargeable. So typically they sell you the solution. They will not tell you that this is something that cannot be given to you at that point. But later, we grapple with this change request and end up paying more than what we invested in the first place. Again, this is my personal experience.
Sirisha is hurting business model of companies like ours. So basically, at this moment, my watch on the phone says 4:27. Will a Rado say something different? Hello? Yeah. Will a Rado show a different time?
Shows the money.
4:27 on my watch. Will Rado show something different, or a Rolex? Will it show something different? No, I'm saying in terms of the time, correct? So it all depends. What is the value you are looking at? And then you see that what meets the needs. It need not be the best, which you need to pick up. If I had a choice, I will buy Rolex, correct? But will it serve my purpose? My purpose is time. If my purpose was to show off, to demonstrate my affluence,
So
it's a different matter. In that case, I'm not looking for a watch for seeing the time. I'm looking it as a status symbol. So when you are looking at, coming back to Sirisha, her current LMS is kind of nowhere near the latest, but if it does the job, it is good enough. You need to be clear what is you want to achieve, And you need to look at the solution. Does it help you achieve it today? Will it help you achieve whatever your unstated requirements could be in future? So the vendor should be there for the long run. That's all it matters. You don't need to go overboard. You don't need to over-engineer this. Just find whatever is appropriate. Your gut tells you this is the right thing to do. The people who are representing, they seem to be the good people. I would say just go ahead with it. End of the day, technology can do only so much. What you do and how you do with the technology, that will make a difference. You can take a best-in-class product, but if you don't have the people, the sponsorship, all those things in place, tool can't do anything.
Yeah, we'll take one last question. Yes.
The question's about this AI. We talked about the 6 pillars. Almost everyone has spoken about all the 6 pillars which you've ingrained in chapters. I would say all the seatings which we have had, we've covered all the 6 pillars of AI. If you remember when we started AI, the 6th pillar was the most important pillar. And how do you think we ascertain that we stay ethical and in ethos of the training module, whether it's a technical or whether it's a communication whatsoever? Is there a method by which we can measure both parts equally? Because competency nowadays, it's 50% behavioral and 50% is technical. I'm coming from both the ends. So is there a method by AI we can simplify the ethics part as well as the ethos part? As in, if we talk about the technical as well as the behavioral, is there a method or measurement how we can do it via AI? It's an extension from his question. Is there a tool which we can have such kind of a measurement? Because this will be very helpful and it's disruptive. It will be fast, scalable as well. Because we have a requirement where we are assessing on an yearly basis when we talk about appraisals. We talk about 50% competency and 50% behavior. So ideally, the competency is divided into skill versus soft skills, as in hard skills versus soft skills. Is there a method?
So thank you for the question. I mean, both the questions are great ideas, I think, for the future. But I don't think there's going to be an answer that might come out. I mean, unless somebody has there may not be an answer that might come out. But again, not necessarily answering your question, sir, because I don't think there is one. It can be a great idea. Like I said, both your questions are great ideas for somebody in the future to develop. Maybe somebody who's looking at a business prospect for L&D alone can come up with a tool that will do a comparative analysis of every LMS. And I think every time you hit the website, you make some money. So great idea. But a continuous monitoring, continuous auditing of the AI algorithms and the data that's going in, maybe that might serve the purpose for me at my organization level. But yeah, beyond that, I don't think there is one.
I would like to take this question. Any learning tool that we take up, it has to marry with your system that you are using. And you have your system to key in your goals, and that leads to the KPIs, what needs to be achieved. And with the AI, the learning management, it has to be integrated. And in our current company, we do a code of conduct signing in. There, where is your ethics coming in? We have a course, and after that, there is a pop-up where you have to digitally sign that you have learned the course. And that's a mandate from the group. I hope I have answered to some extent.
Sure. So I think with this, I think we'll have to take all the questions offline. We've got our bells coming up. So thanks a lot, everyone. Really appreciate your time, and thanks a lot, audience, for your time.